Praying for this to work, and it's working. And we are live. How you all doing today? I hope you're doing well. We're live again with This Week in Supervision, where we talk about some of the things, some of the topics that I've been discussing in my groups, just to give some of you all that are supervisors ideas and things that you might want to focus on. And if you're a clinician, it gives you some extra thought. Maybe you'll find out and learn some things that maybe you didn't know about. Also, we do a little bit of test prep here and there. And so that's what we're going to jump into. We've got a lot to talk about today. This week has just been a great week. For some reason, I've just been super amped about the sessions, been putting a lot of time into making sure we have great content. And so let's just go on and get into what we have been talking about today. Our title is When Trying Stops Making Sense. When trying stops making sense, undoing learned behaviors. Okay. Undoing learned behaviors. Now, how do we do that? Well, we're going to get into that, how you might support your client with undoing learned behaviors, because when a client ends up having learned behaviors, it just becomes a default. So it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy that success will not occur. Okay, if it's a learned behavior based on negative outcomes. Okay, and so we want to be able to help our clients through that. I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you just so that we can get a little bit of a visual. And I'm telling you, since I've been using ChatGPT, I generally have more content than what I can present. And that's a great thing. That is a great thing. And so we're going to get into that. So one of the things we talked about starting out with supervision, we talked about we've been introducing internal family systems. We watched a little bit of video, actually quite a bit of video on this from one of the trainings that I purchased. And so we went through that. We won't have time to go through that, and I don't have the rights to show the video, what have you. But we talked a little bit about that. And so I think anytime that you can find content that your people can see tactically, like a therapist tactically working out difficult situations, is very helpful because it helps them to see therapy in action. And what we do is process that along the way. All right, so let's get into our first test question. I hope that everybody can see this. I want to see, and we go over this quite a bit, but I'll bring it back because what I've noticed over time, if we don't go through these things, then a lot of my supervisees will forget. So the repetition does deepen the impression. So here we have, and I base these on, I get chat to help me to do these based on real types of scenarios, real scenarios, not actual cases, but based on real life scenarios that I have encountered. Okay. And so here we have a client describes a long-standing pattern of prioritizing others' needs, avoiding conflict, and gaining a sense of safety and worth through being helpful. Okay. This is a number of my clients that I work with, and I love helping them with these concerns. But many times, gaining a sense of safety and self worth through being helpful, okay? Um, that's not always a good thing, right? Agreeable, never a good thing, I don't think. Agreeable and emotionally available. The client reports difficulty expressing needs, fear of disappointing others. Okay, so that's impacting how I behave. Let me stay focused. Fear of disappointing others, and anxiety about relational disconnection when boundaries are set. So this is important here because with this particular client, they're actually setting boundaries. A lot of clients you work with, they haven't gotten to the point of setting a boundary yet. But the thing is that they're setting a boundary, but they're having anxiety about relational disconnection when that happens. We talked about that in one of the previous scenarios that I brought up. So considering that we haven't all the way evolved yet, where would you believe, as far as attachment, where do you think they fit? Which attachment style is most commonly associated with this pattern of people-pleasing behavior? A, secure attachment. B, anxious, preoccupied attachment. C, avoidant dismissive attachment, or D, disorganized, fearful, avoidant attachment. We're not going to go into attachment today because we don't have a lot of time, got a lot to cover. But what I was discussing is that there are certain styles. For instance, if you have someone who is anxious, preoccupied, they happen to many times be attracted to the avoidant style attachment, or someone who has avoidant attachment. Okay, because usually, sometimes with the avoidant individuals that have avoidant attachment, they have a tendency to sometimes not be as empathetic and don't mind. Well, I'm not gonna get deep into that. Let me stay focused, right? Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, right? Which one do you feel is the answer? Which one do you feel is the answer? So we're gonna jump on to the answer. And so this is the answer. The answer is anxious preoccupied attachment. What is that? Anxious preoccupied attachment is strongly associated with people pleasing behaviors. Okay. So people pleasing behaviors is a big part of anxious anxious preoccupied attachment, codependency. What I find is many of my clients in this state don't have a strong identity. Okay, they don't know what they really want because they've been so preoccupied with serving others and trying to please them that they can't stay focused on what it is that they want. They don't even know. A great deal of my clients really don't know. So we have to do exercises to help to support them with reestablishing or establishing identity for the first time. All right. So that one was that one. We kind of go through why some of the other answers are not correct and things like that. I just encourage you to check in and oh, this is something we talked about too. So someone who has anxious preoccupied, many times their core belief when what they really think about themselves is they may have a core belief that if I'm needed, agreeable, or people pleasing, I won't be abandoned or I won't be harmed. I won't be mistreated. And we know that never works out. Never works out. Okay, in relationships in general, because people just keep moving the bar and keep taking advantage, and they're okay with it because this type of personality, generally, if you're that type, you know what I'm talking about. Generally, you'll attract people that it just seems like they don't care, they don't give a dang. Okay, that's who you will end up attracting until some things are changed internally, and that's the work that we do as therapists. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, let me hurry up. Which of the following individuals is most directly recognized as the primary founder of attachment theory? So we're talking about attachment theory. We're putting we're bringing examples, tactical examples where we can look at this, see what it smells and feels like. But you know what? Who's responsible for this theory? It's important that we know this because some of these questions will come up in the exam. But our clinicians need to know just for further study so they can understand techniques that can be used to support them with intervention. And the answer to this one, which one do you believe it is? A. Erickson, B. Marshall Lanahan, C. Sigmund Freud, D. John Bowlby, or E. Diana Bumrah. I've been stressing that we need to know the ladies that are a part of theory here because it just hasn't been enough because of the way certain systemic things have been set up. So we definitely need to know who the women are who are contributing to the things that the interventions and theories that we're learning. Okay, and so we went over everybody, but in this case, have you figured out the answer yet? All right, in this case, who we talking about? Attachment theory, yes. And so our answer is going to be D. Our answer is going to be D. Um, some groups got it right, some groups didn't. But then I would follow back with, okay, well, tell me about E. What did Diana Bumrine do? What is she responsible? How about Marsha? How about Erickson? And so then we would process this, and then you have your little cheat sheet to help you as well. Okay, of course, Marshall Linehan's DBT. Erickson, he's psychosocial stages of development. We got Bumrine, of course. She's the parenting styles. Okay, Sigmund Freud, of course, psychoanalysis. And then, you can get a little bit more details on this to help you out. Now, we want to jump over to this particular case here, okay? More about our topic, right? Because sometimes we're working with individuals. When trying, our title is When Trying Stops Making Sense, Undoing Learned Behavior. Sometimes we just get stuck in um, in experiences where we just haven't been successful. I can't have a great relationship. I can't have a great job. And then we have all this negative self-talk. That's something you have to evaluate and discuss with your client as well. But let's just go on and jump into it. All right. So we brought this young man up. I think his name is Melvin. And he was on one of the programs from Iyanla Van Zant, Fix My Life. I love watching her program and learned a lot from some stuff she did, but she's not a therapist. Keep that in mind. Um, Learn a lot about human behavior. And we're going to play a clip really quickly, if I can, concerning this gentleman. We played it the other week, but it ties into kind of what we're talking about even today. So let's listen to this 1 minute clip, and I want to see what.
Okay. So then, so they left. They left, and then this 19-year-old foster child that moved out of the home was homeless, and the foster mom was so nice to him. She was like, "You can come back." He just started gravitating towards me. "Oh, you're gonna be my brother," and I'm just like, "Cool." My brothers left me anyway, so I'm just like, "Okay, forget them. I got a new brother." And then it started. He was buying me clothes and candy and stuff, and just giving me gifts. And then he was just being too nice, and I'm just like, nobody never been this nice to me. So I know dang well something's bad gonna happen. I just felt it, like I knew something bad was gonna happen. I used to sleep really heavy because I was on medicine for depression. So I would sleep, and then I felt somebody yanking my pants down, but I didn't stop him. I didn't stop him. So what I did was ball my fist up.
Wait a minute. Just sit right in that. Sit right in that, baby. Said I didn't stop him. Why not? Yeah.
Because I didn't, because I felt like I deserved it.
You deserve what? How did you know what was coming?
I didn't know what was coming, but I just felt like you got to pay the price for somebody being nice to you.
Oh.
Oh man, that gets me every time. Okay. Woo, woo. Let's just stop this. Okay. All right. Let's see if we could get back to sharing the screen here, you all. Um, yeah, that gets me every time. Um, let's see if we can share the screen. Um, but there were some things that were stated right there, and we got to zip through this. Um, we've got a question here that that is relevant, okay? And I didn't give it away in the actual in when we've been in the groups. But let's just look at this, like this guy Melvin, why didn't he stop this person? We talked a little bit about this week, about that well, yeah, this week. Why didn't he stop it? Okay. We're gonna get into that. Okay. Again, from a different perspective, an added perspective. We want to build on the knowledge that we have already learned. He said I deserved it. Um, Basically, you can't expect to receive something without having to pay the penalty. And so I like to put a visual to our client instead of us just seeing it in text and print. And so the clinician can be ready to tactically move on situations. They have seen it, they have felt it. It's almost like a simulation. Okay. And so we want to get there so we feel confident that we can work with these types of situations. But let's go to the question here. Client reports a long-standing belief that they only deserve bad things. Okay. Long-standing belief. So that means that came from somewhere, and that means that it's been existing for a long period of time, right? And they just and describes a pattern of not pursuing promotions. This is how this ends up impacting you. Not pursuing promotions, okay? uh Healthier relationships, um or meaningful opportunities. The client states that efforts to improve their situation, it feels pointless, and reports diminished motivation. I'm not even trying anymore. Whew. Resignation and emotional withdrawal. They describe a general loss of faith in people and relationships and believe that outcomes are largely outside of their control. Which of the following concepts best explains what this client has likely experienced? I just had the pleasure of having one of my supervisees to pass their exam, and they were saying that, hey, some of those scenarios that you were bringing, I just saw the same stuff on the test, and it really helped me to pass the exam. You know, shout out to Corbin. Um, but we try to go over scenarios that are real and that will help to glue the situation so that they can see that once come times to test, be fresh on that. But what do you think the answer is here? And it's more than one. More than one. Which of the following concepts best explain or best explains what this client has likely experienced? A, learned helplessness. B, external locus of control. C, secure attachment. D, major depressive disorder. Which best? Which best? I think this one. Well, actually, it's not as easy as you think because a lot of the supervisees only chose one. So there's actually two. And I think these two concepts kind of cross. And so we're talking about A and B is our answer. Learn helplessness. And what happens when you have learned helplessness? In this situation, this gentleman couldn't even uh, support, not that he would have been able to stop it, but he couldn't support um he couldn't get it within himself to stop something that was going to hurt him or even make an attempt, because even before the rape he had already experienced learned helplessness. How do we know that? Well, he himself said that he had developed the thought that I deserve this. I deserve that. Basically, I only deserve bad things is the concept, the idea that he had developed. And that perpetrator knew that, likely. Okay. So many times the damage has already been done, even before the damage is done, that causes even more negative impact, long standing, long lasting, traumatic impact. Okay. Sometimes we're staged. So these things that, okay. So let's go through this real quick. Learn helplessness. What is that? Learn helplessness develops when an individual experiences repeated situations where effort does not lead to any type of change. I've been trying, it leads nowhere. That's almost like having a parent that you would try to get to help you, try to listen to you, you try to get them to understand you, to care, to have your best interest, but no matter what you did, it didn't seem as though they cared. Okay. And so you learn that, why do I even bother telling you how I feel? I showed a video some time ago, adolescent, well, she was grown, she was molested, and she was on the show and was discussing, like, I told my mom about this that I had been touched, and she just started jumping down my throat about it. And then the mom just plumb went off right there. I can't help you. I was molested myself and all this kind of stuff, right? That, but she was just cool about it. The girl that had been molested, she was just cool about it, because you know what? She had learned that I can't depend on her. Learn helplessness. So this moves into new relationships. I gotta stop. This moves into new relationships with friends and loved ones and things like that. And so, okay, external locus of control. External locus of control involves that belief that outcomes are determined by fate, luck, and other people or circumstances versus my own actions. Again, my actions don't matter. Things are just going to happen. My environment controls me instead of me having the ability to navigate and somewhat move and control my environment. Okay. These are concepts that can end up on the exam. Okay. And so we're going to skip past. Um, it's important to know when clients stop striving. So we can have some counter transference about that if you're not careful based on your own experience. You might think they should do more. Okay. When clients stop striving, it's not because they don't care. It's because they've learned that effort doesn't pay off and outcomes aren't theirs to influence. Okay, so what do we do to help? We talked about these types of concepts. We've been talking about them. I call it discovery. We got to help them discover, help the client to discover why try and stop? Why did you, when did you stop trying? You help them to identify that. I do that through psychoanalysis. Okay. There's almost always a history of a family member, a caregiver that has groomed this person to be the way that they are, unfortunately. But we don't spend time blaming the family member. But what we do is give opportunity for them to see and discover their experience. Because many times the reason why they're people pleasers is because they have felt guilt about taking the time to discover what actually hurts them. Sit for a moment in that. That's why y'all had him to sit and just think about this for a moment. Because you're kind of guilting yourself probably about not taking steps instead of processing why this occurred. You shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place, but we're not blaming. You was a kid. You shouldn't have had to defend yourself. So we go through these types of things. And why this matters is because when you help the client to understand and discover why all of this has taken place, why I act the way that I do, now I start to not have that sense of powerlessness. I start to feel powerful. We start to, I think it's universal, forget the term, but basically we're trying to help them to understand that this happens with all of us, a lot of people. It's a normal thing. It's not an abnormal behavior to think a certain way when this is what you have been taught to think as a child. We only trust what our caregivers provide, but not faulting the caregivers. And so that's tough on a lot of clients, but this reduces the blame, shame, and doubt. Okay, because there's a lot of shame and doubt, a lot of bargaining. Should I had even said anything? Should this even matter that this bothers me or hurts me? And I just can't seem to be able to say stop. In our example, they start drawing the boundary, but it's having a negative effect, and it's not pleasurable. So we prepare the client that, hey, you may experience some of this, but then let me tell you, they get high off of this experience because they start seeing when I'm drawing the boundary and saying, no, it's making me feel better. And who is me? I have never felt or discovered me ever. So then I have to not allow them to try to get too intoxicated on me because then we start going in another direction. Anyway, all right, support them with being curious about where this began. Do this without blaming or faulting the caregivers, but that's not going to help. Bring awareness to their reality without having to. This allows them to have to bring awareness to their reality without having to feel guilt about acknowledging their reality, and then help them to win through cognitive experimentation. So we're going to put you in places where you can test your bad theory about you just deserve bad things or bad things. You know, this I deserve bad things when they happen. So I better stop. I do want to pull you all in to see about this training that we have. Okay. A free CEU for those who are part of Social Workers Alabama. We're excited. Man, we've been having some powerful training integrating creative arts and behavioral health. And you can catch some of this on our YouTube channel as well if you miss our live. Okay. And it's free on the YouTube channel for everybody. Okay. But we will be doing this live on February 17th at 5:30 p.m. Okay. And then we have our supervisor training, and we've been getting a lot of sign-ups. Y'all keep it coming. Supervisor training, it is live, it is online. We will be doing this virtually, and you can find out how to become independent. I'm gonna try to bring some extra bonuses to help you out with this process as we teach and help you to learn. And then we have the DSM-5 TR training. If you are a clinical social worker, you have to have this one. Come get it from us if you don't mind. And this is an online on demand training. And then we've got a new one, almost forgetting about this. If you're a supervisor, you are also going to need 3 CEUs that are structured around education for supervisors. Supervisors. All right. Come check us out. We have an online on demand training. And with that, I'm out. Y'all take care until next week. All right. Bye bye.